In this video, I'm going to talk about each president in the United States, just a few sentences. We're going to keep it simple. We go from George Washington to Donald Trump.
Ready? Go!
George Washington, the first president, and the only president to be elected unanimously by the Electoral College, which means he got 100% of the vote. He was an amazing tactician and helped the Americans win in the Revolutionary War. He once chopped down a cherry tree, but I don't see why that's important. People wanted to call him His Excellency like a king, but he was like, nah, call me Mr. President. John Adams. He has a very weird face, but don't let that distract you from the fact that he was the first vice president, one of the founding fathers of the U.S., and a very important historical figure. He supposedly fought for liberty and freedom, even though he signed a bill that made it so saying mean things about the president could get you up to 5 years in jail and a $5,000 fine. Thomas Jefferson, a founding father who wrote the Declaration of Independence, made the Louisiana Purchase, and served 8 years as president of the U.S. One of his quotes was, "I cannot live without books." James Madison. Hey guys, let's go to war! Yeah!
A few moments later.
James Monroe, best known for the Monroe Doctrine, which prevented further European colonization into North and South America. And overall, he's known as an above-average president, like a 7.5 out of 10. John Quincy Adams. So the son of John Adams, he was a great diplomat and had some good foreign policy. Next! Andrew Jackson. Andrew freaking Jackson! A war hero who fought in many great battles, sieges, and conquests. He supported annexation of Texas and fought in the War of 1812. He enacted the Indian Removal Act, which caused the Trail of Tears. James Parton wrote of him, "He is both a patriot and a traitor, an atrocious saint." So what he's trying to say is, he did some good things, he did some bad things, you can't blame him. We've all made mistakes before, like accidentally sending thousands of Native Americans to die. Hashtag relatable. Martin Van Buren, the 8th president. Oh god, we still have 37 more to go. Anyway, Martin was not a very good president. He only served one term, made some good decisions, made some bad ones. But what was not very nice is that the Whigs made jabs at him, calling him Van the used up man, or Martin Van Ruin. Oh! William Henry Harrison. I, William Henry Harrison, was fought in many wars and served years in many different political offices. Will do my best to ensure American liberty and prosperity.
A few moments later.
Ow! Pneumonia! John Tyler. Oh hi, I'm John Tyler. The only interesting thing about me is that I'm the first vice president to take office after a real president's death. James K. Polk. A Democrat who led the country into the Mexican-American War, which was pretty much the most one-sided war of all time. Mexico just got completely curb-stomped.
Headshot!
Our victory in the war gave us a bunch of new territory, including Texas, California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. Sorry, not sorry, Mexico. Zachary Taylor, not very good at politics, but was a hero in the Mexican-American War. He died from an illness just 16 months after taking office. He's more of a forgettable president than a failed one. Now that old Zach is dead, Millard Fillmore takes the office. Who? Millard Fillmore who? Franklin Pierce, the Justin Trudeau of the 1850s. He can do whatever he wants and make as many bad decisions as he wants because... Oh no, he's hot! Anyway, he's probably one of the worst presidents ever. He worsened relationships between North and South, signed the terrible Kansas-Nebraska Act, and enforced the Fugitive Slave Act. If you didn't understand any of that, I'll just use this to demonstrate.
Huh? Barnacles! What could be worse than a giant paint bubble?
Oh, I know. 2 giant paint bubbles.
No! Patrick?
Yes, SpongeBob?
I don't think this bubble can get much bigger.
Nonsense!
James Buchanan, the only president from Pennsylvania, and one of the worst presidents of all time. Ugh, that doesn't look too good. He worsened relations between the North and South and overall did not take any action to prevent the upcoming Civil War. Speaking of Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, old honest Abe, who led the country through the Civil War, one of the most difficult times in American history. Whether you like him or not, he was definitely one of the most important and influential presidents of all time. Just 5 days after the Confederates surrendered in the war, he was assassinated by John Wilkes Pig Booth in the Ford Theater. Now that he was dead, his vice president was to assume office, and that man was Andrew Johnson, known as one of the worst presidents of all time. But why? You would think a good president like Lincoln would have had a good VP, but actually the only reason Lincoln chose Johnson as his vice president was to unite the North and South, because Lincoln was a Northern Republican and Johnson was a Southern Democrat. Johnson was never actually meant to become president, but when he did, he vetoed way too many things, denied rights for African Americans, attempted to undo a lot of Lincoln's achievements. Like when you're playing a video game and you say, okay, if I die, I'll let him play. And then you die, but forget to save, and now you have some brain-dead moron who barely knows the controls playing on your save file. It's pretty much like that. From this point forward, every single president is going to be either a Democrat or a Republican. Before this point, there have been independents, Federalists, Whigs, Democratic Republicans, and National Unionists. Anyway, let's continue. Ulysses S. Grant, a war hero, fought in the Civil War and Mexican-American War, helped the country during Reconstruction, and had some decent policies. He was pretty harmless. Rutherford B. Hayes. Listen, right now you might be saying, who? And that's completely fine to say that, because he only served one term, didn't do anything terrible, didn't do anything amazing. He was a satisfactory president. James A. Garfield. You gotta feel bad for this guy. Not only was he assassinated, but his assassination wasn't even remembered like Lincoln or Kennedy. Press F to pay respects. Chester A. Arthur? Literally, who? Anyway, he was a well-respected and satisfactory president. Grover Cleveland. Had some decent policies, opposed imperialism and high tariffs, among other things. And he was an overall above-average president. But that's not what's important. Just keep his name in mind for me, okay? Okay. Grover Cleveland. Just keep that name in mind. Benjamin Harrison, the first president to have his voice recorded, which is pretty neat.
As President of the United States, I was present at the first Pan-American Congress in Washington, D.C. Believe that with God's help, our two countries shall continue to live side by side in peace and prosperity.
Grover Cleveland. Now you might be saying to yourself, didn't we just have this guy? Bear, are you going nuts? Are you going all wacky on me? Actually, no. Grover Cleveland was the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. So it pretty much went like this. Hi. Bye. Hi, Benjamin Harrison here, and hi again. William McKinley, a decent leader who fought a war with Spain and won, and at the time he was pretty popular, but his popularity would soon be overshadowed. His popularity would soon be overshadowed by none other than Teddy Roosevelt himself. He's by far one of the most popular and influential presidents of all time. He set up the Panama Canal and national parks, and despite looking quite old, he's actually the youngest president of all time. He's depicted among Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln on Mount Rushmore. He's so cool that teddy bears are named after him. Even has a dope monocle. I don't think you can ask for anything else in a man. William Howard Taft.
Eat your oatmeal.
Woodrow Wilson. Also, if you haven't been keeping track, we're now on the 28th president. Woodrow Wilson is most important for leading the country in World War I. He served 2 full terms. Warren G. Harding won in a landslide and was a very popular president during his life. But after he died of a heart attack 2 years into his term, it was found out he was very corrupt and had many scandals. But after his death, his vice president takes the office, and his name is Calvin Coolidge, probably one of the most underrated presidents of all time. He did wonderful things for the economy, civil rights, and restored public opinion in the White House after Harding's scandals. The Animaniacs song sums it up perfectly.
It's Calvin Coolidge, he does fine.
Because that's all you really need to know. He did fine. Herbert Hoover, most known for the Hoover Dam and being at the wrong place at the wrong time and getting the blame for the Great Depression. Whoops. Up next we have Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the most important presidents of all time, implemented the New Deal, brought the United States into the Second World War, and while some people say those were bad decisions, people at the time must have liked him a lot because he was elected 4 times. Unfortunately, he died early in his 4th term, and now it's Harry S. Truman up to bat. Most known for his decision to drop the atomic bombs on Japan, which ended World War II, and his intervention in the Korean War. I could talk about his economic, social, and other policies in detail, but the thing is, do you really care? Dwight D. Eisenhower, the supreme commander of Allied forces during World War II, and a very good leader. Like Truman before him, he wanted to contain communism. He was the last president to be born in the 1800s. Get your popcorn and other snacks ready, because it... Get your popcorn and other snacks ready, because now we're heading to modern times. John F. Kennedy. Yes, that's right. The man, the myth, the legend, JFK. He continued the fight against communism. During his presidency, he saw very high tensions with Cuba and the USSR, and escalated the space race to all new heights by promising to get a man on the moon. He is one of the most known presidents, so I don't think I have to say that much more. And like all good things, they have to be taken away from us by dirty communist rats. Because while on a motorcade in Dallas, Texas, he was assassinated by Oswald the Octopus, Lee Harvey Oswald. Because Kennedy died, his vice president would have to take his office. Lyndon B. Johnson, known for his great domestic and social policies, but is absolutely despised for his handling of the Vietnam War. If this wasn't the Barrow Happy, Fun, Family-Friendly show, I would go off on how much I hate this guy, but I won't, because people will dismiss my opinion and call me gay. Richard Nixon, well, he actually had some good foreign, domestic, and social policies, ended the U.S. involvement in Vietnam, and oversaw the moon landings. No one cares about that. You know why? Because the Watergate scandal. That's why. He got caught up in the Watergate scandal. He surrendered and gave the office to his vice president. Gerald Ford. Now I know you might be saying, literally who? But you are fine by saying that. Here, I'll tell you the story of Gerald Ford. You're gonna be vice president, Jerry, and you're gonna like it. Oh, why thank you, Nixon. You are so kind. Oh, whoops, I've been caught. Gerald, you can be president now. Anyway, Gerald wasn't even half bad. Definitely underrated. Jimmy Carter, more like Jimmy. Anyway, for only serving 1 term, he definitely saw quite a lot. Education reform, Panama Canal treaties, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, rising tensions, the Iranian hostage crisis, the oil crisis, and nuclear accidents. Give this man a break. When he tried to get reelected in 1981, he lost in a landslide victory against Ronald Reagan. Whether you like him or not, he was definitely an important president. He started out as a famous Hollywood celebrity, but eventually became the leader of the most powerful nation on earth. Reminds you of someone, doesn't it? Anyway, Reagan survived an assassination attempt, started an economic reform called Reaganomics, increased military spending, decreased inflation, and increased the amount of annual gross domestic product, and cut taxes. If you don't understand these economic terms, I'll simplify it for you. More money for everyone! Yay! Overall, I think he did pretty good. George H.W. Bush, a swell fella who increased trade, oversaw the fall of the Soviet Union, and fought the Persian Gulf War, which was incredibly successful. Besides that, you just gotta feel happy for him. Just look at that smile. Okay, now we're heading to the final 4 presidents, and because of how recent they were, I can't give comments without sounding biased. So what I'm gonna do instead is play memes.
Bush did 9/11. Yeah!
Obama! 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 And that was all 45 presidents of the U.S. Thank you and good night. Remember that art contest is still going on, so if you want your artistic talent shown in the next video, all you have to do is draw my profile picture. That is all. I'm providing high quality images in the description to use as reference. You don't have to draw it exactly. You can just make your own interpretations. Like this person who turned me into a furry. I'm not a furry! We also have this one, which is made by the same person who made Norm of the North from last time. We have this one, which turned me into an We have this one, which turned me into We have this one, which turned me into We have this one, which turned me into an authoritarian dictator, which is always cool. This one, which is in 3D, which is unique. This one is pretty adorable. This one, which turns me into a communist tyrant. These two turn me into an anime or whatever, which I absolutely adore. This one has an adorable little burb in it, and my favorite one of all, this one. As you can see, not only is it incredibly well drawn, but has references to all my major videos. The British Empire, you wake up in a country, must survive for a year, hurricane names, the English language, Black Plague, weird flags, 50 states, the planet, is this the planets, I think? I don't know, and I don't know what that is in the top right. Seriously, what is that? Is that me with a halo? Holy cow. Please tell me. Anyway, thank you for submitting your fan art. I hope to see more soon. Adios, mi amigos.